This video is meant to give you some insights on Medicare, with some issues that will be especially of interest to women. So generally, most Americans automatically qualify for Medicare at age 65. So let's take a very quick look at some of the different parts of the Medicare program. Most of us will be provided Medicare Part A coverage at no cost. It's what's known as the hospital insurance portion of Medicare. Think of it as the places coverage under Medicare. A quick note here, it's a common misconception that Medicare covers all of your long-term care needs, such as assisted living, but it does not. Medicare coverage for long-term needs is very limited, so make sure you know what is and is not covered, so you're not surprised by this only when you get to a point of crisis. And you could check out our other video on healthcare and long-term care cost issues for more information on that. Now back to what is covered. Medicare Part B is for medical insurance coverage. That's your people and equipment portion. Think up here about things like doctors and physical therapists, wheelchairs, oxygen tanks, and you do have to pay a premium for this coverage. And finally, Part D is for prescriptions, or D is for drugs. Now, Medicare is an extremely complex topic, and you'll see we're not even going to talk about Part C or Medigap coverage in this video. But let's talk about Medicare Parts B and D. Medicare premiums are based on a tiered cost structure, kind of like our tax income structure. The more money you make, AGI stands for Adjusted Gross Income, the more money you have to pay for your Part B and D premiums. Again, we're just talking about the doctors, equipment, and drugs portion covered by Medicare. So first, let's take a look at the premiums for a single woman. First, you'll note that the premiums are for 2022, and they're based on your 2020 income. Now, both the tiers and the premiums generally go up every year, so if you're watching this video after 2022, the dollar amounts will have to be adjusted, but the general concepts I'm about to cover will still hold. So you can see there's a planning opportunity already when you see that the 2022 premiums are based on your 2020 income. Notice that these tiers are very rigid. So if you make just $1 over $91,000, you go from paying a premium of $2,441 to $3,406,000 in Medicare premiums for the year. Now, if that same woman were married, the joint household income would have to be $182,000 or less for each spouse to owe $2,441,000 in premiums for Parts B and D together. So again, it may go without saying, but if you can keep your income down, you can keep your Medicare costs down. Also keep in mind that if you have retirement accounts and they're subject to required minimum distributions, sometimes you'll hear them called RMDs, and these are accounts such as traditional IRAs or 401k plans, then that additional required distribution that you have to take may actually push you over into the next income bracket. So again, it's important to account for this when you're planning around your finances. Now let's take a look at the potential impact of divorce on your Medicare premiums. A 2020 study conducted by TD Ameritrade says that about half of married women earn the same amount or more than their husbands. So let's say that as a hetero couple, your household income is $170,000. But then you go through a divorce and you, the wife, were the higher wage earner. Now, for example, let's say your income as a single earner is $115,000. That means that while you were paying $2,441 in Medicare premiums as part of a couple, you're now bumped up to having to pay $4,868 in premiums as a single person. And the same unexpected consequences can come out of becoming widowed. We all know women tend to live longer than men. That means that we as women need to plan to have our money last longer in retirement than men. And when setting up a financial plan for couples, for example, there's an automatic assumption built into financial planning software, such as the example you see here, where women with the exact same age and the exact same health indicators as the men in their lives will live at least 2 years longer than their male spouse. Now, coupled with living longer, a Pew Research study from January 2020 finds that in the USA, among hetero couples, women on average are 2.2 years younger than their male spouse. Doing the math, that means the average female partner in an opposite-sex relationship needs to plan on having at least 4.2 years of additional funding for her solo retirement years. So let's come back to the issue of Medicare. In our example, say you and your spouse had a household income of $170,000, and you did some smart financial planning before your spouse died. So your income as a single woman or widow is now $145,000 a year. But to add insult to the injury of losing your spouse, your healthcare premiums have now jumped dramatically from $2,441,000 to $6,329 per year. And for most widows, this is at the same time that your medical care costs are expected to increase as your age increases. For even more insights on healthcare and long-term care considerations for women, take a look at our video on those topics.